Yeah, good evening. Shall we get going? Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
So shall we start off without any more delay? So where do you want me to start? You want me to start at the top? I mean, at the first unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, first, let me, if you read the introduction to this, uh, we are basically saying that we need to study this particular kind of a thing because of the fact that although these are all European developments, thanks to colonialism, most of the world, or the whole of the world, which has had any education of consequence, has relied upon uh, Western systems of knowledge. This is not to argue that the other systems of knowledge are, uh, in some way they are inferior to the Western systems of knowledge. But it is something which should be seen as an accident of history that, we have this uh, kind of science today, which we uh, have inherited from the West. And because of the fact that we have inherited this from the West, and in a certain sense, it is not really uh, inborn into our earlier generations. Okay, I'm talking about people in the 18th, 19th centuries. They didn't have this as their inborn system of knowledge. Now, whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not, we have to basically admit that, you know, we have to admit that there is no running away from the fact that there is no running away from the fact that, this is very much a part of our tradition now. Okay, you might call it Mangalyan, but sending some kind of an explorer to the Mars explorer, is something that uh, we have done because the whole idea of space science, uh, what should I say, space exploration is something that came from the West. This is not to say that Indians didn't have a conception of science of the space. They did, but they didn't believe it to be necessary to actually go there, uh, or send something either to the moon, Chandrayaan, which we call, or Mangalyaan, which went to Mars. So all these things, if you look at these science uh, attempts at building a community of science, what are we seeing? We are basically seeing that these are all things which have come from the West. And I wouldn't say that we should put ourselves down by saying that we are only copying them. We are not just copying them. Some of the things we do better than the West as well. Okay, one particular example that you must know is that if you look at the uh, presidential elections this time, uh, Donald Trump lost the election. Okay, the first time he won the election with his agenda being what he called America for Americans. Okay, and he also said we will not let too many immigrants come and take jobs because they are available as cheap labor, uh, not labor as labor, but as cheap workers. So, uh, what Trump basically kept arguing is that we should give jobs to Americans, prioritize Americans. That is what uh, Trump was doing. In fact, Trump was not the first person to do it. Actually it was actually this first attempt was made to stop offshoring and outsourcing uh, of business processes, those which are called BPOs, which happened during the time of George Bush uh, Jr. At that particular time, whatever happened was that we find uh, that there are a lot of companies that came to India. Okay, the suggestion was given to George Bush by Mitt Romney, uh, who basically said if you are going to allow so many immigrants, especially from India, uh, to come into this country, then we are going to potentially have a situation wherein uh, wherein you'll have uh, an unnecessary problem of too many immigrants. And the Republicans, you must understand, are white supremacists, and they want control of America to remain with the white population. They and today, if you actually look at the different kinds of population groups, the whites will be a minority, okay, because you have Africans, who are now called African Americans, we have Indian Americans, and we have Hispanics, we have Puerto Ricans. All these people have gone there, the Filipinos. So if you put the population count, these myriad groupings that we are seeing are the ones that will outnumber the whites. So the Republicans are always somebody who believed in the white supremacy and they don't want to let go of the control of uh, America. Right now, this might seem to be what is he talking about? I'll tell you what I'm trying to talk about. Okay. If you look at what happened at election, how is the president of America elected? How many people vote for him? Any idea? Anyone? Huh? Okay. 538 people in the whole of America vote for the president. All right. And though we call them Republican Party and Democratic Party, they are not parties as we have them here in India. They don't have party presidents, they don't have party secretaries, nothing. What they have is actually called a caucus. A caucus is a closed group. Okay, so there is a Republican caucus, people who have this, the conservative people of America who believe in white supremacy, who believe in the idea that America should be controlled by the whites. They should dominate the world. These people are the ones who are in the Republican caucuses, which are spread across America. And the slightly more liberal ones, the Republican caucuses are very, very, what should I say, they are conservative. And if you look at a slightly more open minded, slightly more liberal kind of people, they belong to the Democratic caucus, which again, Democratic caucuses, which are spread across the 50 states of the United States of America. Now, you might see preliminaries. Okay, what are preliminaries? Why do they have preliminaries? Now, take the case of Donald Trump. Was Donald Trump, does he belong to any party called the Republican Party? No, he doesn't. Okay, but what he did is he approached the Republican caucus and told them that I would like to offer myself as the candidate who will represent Republican interest in America and keep the white supremacy and all other things that become a part of the conservative agenda of the Americans. He said, we will keep this intact. Okay, but he is not the first to do this. Before him, Barack Obama also did say the same thing. I don't know. Okay, if you remember this, you must have been pretty young then, when Barack Obama first became president. And he said, too many American jobs have gone off, software especially. Software jobs have gone to India because of offshoring and business process outsourcing, which was done during the presidency of George W. Bush. Okay, so he said too many of these jobs have gone off to India. So he said not Bangalore, because Bangalore is, for some strange reason, Americans think that it is the only part of India which is, people, when I have visited America, I've had some people ask me, how big is Bangalore? Is it half of India? I said, no, it's not half of India. It's not even half of its own state, Karnataka state. It's just another city. Like you have so many cities, we also have so many cities. So they thought, Bangalore was something which is big, huge. All right. They also know Hyderabad because Hyderabad also became a destination. Google came here, Microsoft came here, Facebook came here. So they basically want to know all these different things. So they asked me this. I said, no, they are just two cities like other cities. And in fact, the bigger cities are Delhi and Bombay and Calcutta. Okay. And so if you look at all these perceptions, there was this idea that if you take the jobs to India, you can pay Indians in rupees and you don't have to pay them in dollars. Okay. And you don't have to pay them the equivalent of the money that they were getting paid in dollars while working in America, right? So their idea was let's take the jobs to India, let them work in India, the Indians should work in India, and these people should essentially, uh, you know, what do we say? These people should uh, not be allowed to come to America because that can become a problem later on. Okay, so that is why all these companies came to Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, and all these places. So, if you look at Obama, when he first came, he said, no more Bangalore. We'll move everything back to Buffalo. Buffalo is a place in the New York State. Uh, and I don't know why he chose Buffalo. There are other places which are more developed than Buffalo is. And there are a lot of other places that have their names beginning with B, and it just doesn't have to be, you want to, juxtapose Bangalore with something that has a name with B. It doesn't have to be Buffalo, but he chose Buffalo. And well, uh, he did win the election then, but the businesses that control uh, America said you're not going to bring any of these companies back to America. Okay, it is, you must understand, Noam Chomsky, please read him. He says it's the military industrial complex that controls American democracy. Why? Because the president is elected by 538 people. The uh, secretaries, the equivalents of our ministers, uh, they are not even elected. They are chosen at the pleasure of the president. And the judiciary, the judges, into the Supreme Court of America, they are also nominated by the presidents, and they're nominated for a lifetime. There is no term. They can work till they die. So people hang on for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, sometimes, as judges in the American Supreme Court. They think it's a democracy. It is really, strictly speaking, not a democracy. Okay, but I don't want to get into that right now. Maybe another time, another class. If there is a necessity, we'll get into it. But why I am saying all this is, why didn't Obama move the businesses? He didn't move the businesses because he understood what happened in the year 2000 when George Bush became the president of America. George Bush was elected as president by 538 people who comprise the Electoral College of America. All right. And then we find that the popular vote, as it is called, you know, the Americans are stupid fellows. They are made to believe that they vote and it makes a difference. People voted for Al Gore. Okay, they voted for Al Gore, and Al Gore got more of the popular vote than any of the other people. Okay, he got a bigger size of vote than George Bush did. So he actually went to the Supreme Court of America and said, see, I have the support of the people, so I should be the president. And the Supreme Court, which is full of judges nominated by Republican presidents, especially people like, uh, what's her name? Uh, what's his name? Sorry. Ronald Reagan had nominated judges. And like I told you, they are sitting there for the rest of their life. And these judges said, if you read the Constitution of America, which, by the way, is more of a pamphlet than a proper constitutional document, in that there is no sanctity to what you're calling popular vote. It is only the vote of the Electoral College that matters. And the Electoral College voted for George Bush. They did not vote in majority for Al Gore. Okay, so given that, given that, uh, what is it that these people were trying to say? These people were trying to say, listen, doesn't matter if the country vote whom they want to, but it is these 538 people who will determine who will be the president. So George Bush, despite not being voted in a majority by a majority of people, despite not being voted by a majority of people, was somebody who became the president. Now, Obama was aware of this. He didn't want to take a chance. So while in his campaign, he talked about Buffalo, Bangalore to Buffalo. Ultimately, he gave this thing to business houses that no such thing will be done. No such thing will be done, and businesses will remain in India. Now, if you see what happened in 2014, no, 2016, sorry, that is when Trump was elected the first time. His opposition candidate, Hillary Clinton, she polled 2 million popular votes more than Trump. 2 million popular votes more than Trump. That is 20 lakh people didn't vote for Trump. But again, it was the Electoral College that voted for Trump. And this time, since there is a precedent where Al Gore was told, please don't think you can become president. So she also decided there's no point in contesting it. And she gracefully gave up, and Trump became the president. What was his promise? His promise was that I will not allow foreigners, especially Indians, to come into America. So what does he do? First, he says, I'm going to cut the number of visas down. Okay. And when there was, again, the industrial and military lobby, that complex rather, that protested, he said, okay, if you're paying uh, average American software professional uh, to the tune of 130,000 or 1,30,000 dollars per annum as the salary, then you will have to pay the same amount to people who come even from outside. And what was his logic? His logic was he was saying that in order to cut costs, you're importing people who are working for you for $65,000 per annum, sometimes even $45,000 per annum. You should see Indians in flats, they're packed like sardines. Okay. And in each flat, which is supposed to comfortably accommodate four people, there'll be something like 14 people, 10 people. Yeah. So they somehow eke out a living there. And so he said, you'll have to pay $130,000. Then we'll get quality stuff from India. Companies told him to take a vote, but he said no. Then he cut down the visas. India was entitled to 65,000 H-1B visas, uh, which is for professionals to go and work in America for a period of 3 years, can be renewed H-1B. So India had a quota of 65,000 visas every year. That he cut it down to 30,000 visas. He tried to cut it down further, but that didn't happen. And it's so happened that you find that Indians were going there, but Trump stopped them sometimes by looking at the papers. Even some people were sent back from airports where they had landed. From there itself, they were sent back to India. And Trump said, look, this is what I've done for Americans. This is what I've done for Americans. Okay? Now, Americans will get priorities in jobs because otherwise the unemployment rate in America was going up. It is still going up, by the way. And so when he said that, uh, people said, okay, you're doing a good job. And then they found that America did not have educated, enough educated people who could take up the jobs that the Indians were doing. Mainly those of coders, developers, software writers. Okay, these jobs couldn't be done by Americans. The Americans, they pursue law, they pursue management, they don't pursue engineering, by the way. They also don't pursue medicine too much. You'll be amazed at the number of Indian doctors who are there in America. When one of my friends in Fremont in California, he had a heart attack. He was taken to a hospital and he found himself being treated by three doctors, all from Hyderabad and Usmania Medical College. Okay, so much for this thing that American system of education superior to us. Americans are superiorly educated. No, all those are, just empty air. So what happened? Businesses started taking a beating. Businesses started taking a beating because there was nobody to employ from America. America, like I said, has the highest rate of dropouts. And dropouts from where? From high school. Okay. Uh, because America is essentially a country of working class people, there is what we call the dignity of labor, which is one of the good things there. As long as you earn your money honestly by doing some job, doesn't matter. You could be sweeping in, or rather vacuuming a supermarket. You could be doing any of those kind of, or filling petrol in cars. But if you're doing those jobs and earning your money, people will respect you for that. Okay, people will say that okay, why should we disrespect these people? They're living honestly. They're not thieves. They're not beggars. So that is dignity of labor that exists. That works both ways. Okay, one way it works is that it works in the favor of people dropping out if they can't study, if they can't afford to study, and that is the good way. You can still not be disrespected in society, but the bad thing is that the dropout rate is huge, huge dropout rate. Okay, with that kind of a dropout rate, they don't have enough educated people to work, especially in jobs which are in engineering and which have in sciences. So please go to Harvard, please go Stanford, please go to UPenn, University of Pennsylvania. Please go to all these places. Most of the faculty and a great number of students are those who are Indians, people of Indian origin. Okay, not people of Indian origin, people who are born and brought up here and studied here and went there. Right? So it cost Donald Trump an election for having kept Indians out. The same electoral college which had voted him into power the previous time in 2016. In 2020, they said, no, get out. You're stupid. You make too many mistakes. What you are doing is hurting the basic, uh, it is hurting the basic fabric of American economy. Okay. And today, by the way, American economy is in doldrums. America, you must understand, is a country which has the biggest debt in the whole world. America has most debts, not India, not Bangladesh, not even Pakistan. It's America. But they have been surviving mainly because of the fact that they have the power of the petrodollar. Okay. Someday, if you're interested, I'll do an extra class and explain what this is. You should know this because now there is a momentum building up against the abolition of the petrodollar as the default currency for all trading in trading bourses across the world. This is the latest thing that is happening. Okay, people are now saying China, India, Russia, and the BRICS countries have now got possible allies who number 58, who have said, we are with you, we would like to join you. And 18 countries across the world have said, we will trade with India in rupee terms and not in dollar terms. So America is taking a beating economically, huge beating. Okay, so this is what Trump did. He said, America for Americans. It's becoming a useless economy, a poor economy. So, under the circumstances, who are the people who are taking over the jobs there? It's the Indians, mainly the Indians, to a certain extent, the Chinese. But the Chinese do funding rather than do work. Most of the funding of universities like Duke, universities like Harvard, universities like Stanford is done by Chinese money. Funny, right? International relations are really, really funny when you look beyond politics and look at the economics. Okay, it's so China is a potentially rising power which might dominate the whole world. So one has to be alive to that possibility. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say, therefore, is now because this whole mathematics and sciences are something that are ingrained in Indians now, because they are ingrained in Indians, they are able to easily find jobs in America. They are able to find jobs easily in America. They are able to find jobs in UK. Look at who's the prime minister, son-in-law of Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys. Okay, his son-in-law, Sunak. Sunak basically means dog. He's an idiot. His name should not be Sunak, it should be Saunak, which is the name of a rishi. Okay, but he writes Sunak, which means dog in Sanskrit. So, but whatever it is, whatever the meaning may be, he's the prime minister. Scotland, the leader of Scotland politics, is supposed to be somebody who is a Pakistani. It has come out today that a Pakistani is likely to take over the leadership of Scotland. So these are all, look at the developments. It's the old days when we thought the West was dominating. They are gone, or they are on the way out. Why are they on their way out? It's not because we have replaced their systems of knowledge with alternate systems which are ours. No, we haven't done anything like that. We have adapted ourselves to the systems of knowledge that they have created, and we are basically more scientifically oriented than they are today. Okay? And Bill Gates once very firmly said, the hardest working people in the world are the Chinese and the South Indians. He didn't say the North Indians. North Indians don't have a tradition of sciences, but in South, sciences, mathematics, these are a very big tradition. So you see NASA of America, the percentage of Indians working in crucial projects of NASA is very, very high. Like I said, medical professionals. It is believed that about 48% of the medical professionals in America are Indians. And so if you keep looking at it this way, and the software field is taken over by Indians. So what are we looking at? We are looking at the idea that the Western systems are ingrained in us so much that we are able to do better than we are doing better than them in their own spheres of activity, right? So you don't go by this double talk that the UGC does. Let us study Jagdish Mamidala, the Vice Chancellor, the Chairman of the UGC and former Vice Chancellor of JNU. What does he say? He says things like, we should have this new education policy it is something that has been created by Kasturi Rangan, who's now senile completely. And this man says, let us study in our own languages. India's or South India's biggest advantage is the fact that we speak English. We speak English. Okay? North Indians don't, not many North Indians speak English. We are polyglot. We speak many languages. North Indians speak mainly one language, which is Hindi. That is why if you see the development, there's a great divide between the South India and the northern part of India. Anyway, so what I'm trying to tell you is that those who have internalized the this whole uh, tradition of science as it comes from the West are the ones who are doing well in life. They are the ones who are doing well in life. Right? So please don't have this. And what is this great man now saying? Mamidala? He says, we are welcoming foreign universities to come and set up their campuses here. Okay? What would happen if foreign universities come and set up their campuses here? Our rural people will find education going out of their hand. They can't pay the kind of fees that they demand. They are not able to pay the kind of fees that Indian private universities are demanding. Okay, so where will they pay the foreign? So when he put that, I put a post against him on LinkedIn. I said, Professor Mamidala, how is it that you who talk about Swadeshi, he's an RSS man. I said, you who talk about Swadeshi have turned Videshi. Now you want everything Videshi coming here. Now the next step is that you also want elite Indian institutions to go and set up campuses in other undeveloped countries. He wants to set up campuses in Sri Lanka, in Bangladesh, in West Asia. He wants to do all these things. So we have become Videshi, we have become global. Okay, so where is the Swadeshi thing? There is no Swadeshi. So what I'm trying to say, therefore, is don't fall for that kind of rhetoric that you hear. That is just empty rhetoric. When people tell we have this glorious civilization, We were so great when you people were hanging from the trees. True, we were a glorious civilization, no doubt about it. But thanks to colonialism, there has been a disjuncture. Our knowledge systems slowly started disappearing because of the fact that people started pursuing Western knowledge systems. Since they started doing that, our knowledge systems became slowly, they started becoming, uh, more and more defunct, so to speak. Like Dr. R.M. Hegde, who is an allopath and principal of the Manipal, he was the principal of the Manipal Medical College, one of the best medical colleges in India. He says Ayurveda is the most scientific of all systems of medicine that the world has. He says allopathy is unscientific. Okay. But he also laments the fact that there has been a break in the tradition of Ayurveda. What is the break in the tradition of Ayurveda? We have lost contact. We don't know. We have lost the whole thing of how to study Ayurveda. What part of Ayurveda does what to. We have now only got allopathy. Now, if somebody is suffering a heart attack or if somebody is suffering a paralytic stroke, you take them to a Unani Hakim, you take them to an Ayurvedic doctor, you take them to a homeopath, you won't. You will take them to a corporate hospital. Allopathy. So it's all very nice to say that, this is this, this is that. But ultimately, when you come down to brass tacks and you look at your reality, what is your reality pointing at? Your reality is pointing at the fact that you become a country of consequence only when you are able to grapple with systems of knowledge that have originated in the West. And thanks to the fact that English is the most widespread language used across the world, uh, and we have had English men colonizing us, and since we know English, we have benefited immensely from that. Okay, we have benefited immensely from that. And those who have forsaken proper education in these systems, who am I? Why am I teaching you? Am I a part of the faculty of women's college? That is where we are going. That's where we need to know. That's what we need to know. If you say that I can do without Western education, without English education, I can do all this, well, too bad. Whatever advantage that we have till today will be lost. So one has to be careful. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to make ultimately is this. The point is that you have to take into consideration the absolute fact, which is systems of knowledge, especially science, those which have their origins in the West, are the ones that we have had to adapt in order to adapt to, rather, in order to find some success in our own lives. So don't think, why are we studying Western political thought? Why are we studying, these realms of science? Why are we studying these political realms? Why are we studying the importance of science in it? Why are we studying Western science? So, no, this is the foundation. This is the foundation if you want to do well in life. In Telangana, in Hyderabad, you have this high-tech city. Please go and have a look there. See how many people from Telangana have jobs from the level of a watchman, a gatekeeper, to the highest CEO. Not even 1%. All the jobs are taken up by people who come from Calcutta, people who come from Madras, people who come from Bombay, Delhi. That is what has happened. Where are the jobs for Telangana people? Where did they get in? They didn't, because you're not prepared. So, what I'm trying to tell you, therefore, is please try to understand the importance of this particular paper. You need to understand what is it that we require in order to progress, in order to make something out of ourselves. Okay? You don't even have to talk big thing about let's make India proud, let's make India the greatest country. Well, that'll happen if we study properly and do our jobs. We are poised to become the third biggest economy in the world. Just a few years ago, in the 1990s, we were some 29th or 30th biggest economy in the world. Now we have progressed to number 4. If it wasn't for the fact that the pandemic happened, we would have progressed to 3 by now. But it'll happen sooner than later. It'll happen. Maybe next year. It'll happen. So please remember that all these things, it's not just sciences, it's even social sciences, especially economics, political science, all these which have to deal with governance, policies that you make for development and growth, all these have to be studied. They have to be, we have to take adequate measures to adapt ourselves to the coming realities. Okay, so I'll stop here today. Take it as a primer, just as a primer. We would love to believe that the Americans are a great country. They are not, which is becoming more and more obvious every day now. Keep track of newspapers. Keep track. Not WhatsApp University, please. WhatsApp University is based on misinformation, not on information. So you'll have to know how to sift the rubbish from the sensible. Okay, so thank you very much. Would you prefer the class tomorrow at 5 or at 6?
Sir, tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
You prefer it at 6?
Yes, sir.
Yes, tomorrow or regularly?
Regularly, sir.
Okay. No, that's okay. I got all confused yesterday. So tomorrow, 6 o'clock, then I'll ask the second years or whatever, third years, whichever year they are, I'll ask them to come at 5. All right. So thank you very much. So see
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, you will find that link on socialsciences.in. Okay, there is also another community I have created, socialsciences.in research and discussion, the group. You won't find this thing there. What is put there is for researchers and PhD students and scholars. So yours is on socialsciences.in. You'll find the link there. Okay. So thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.